Hiya, my name's Mr. E. Welcome to the National 5 Engineering Science course. This is the course introduction. And I've got the camera on so you can see my face. Other times we might just have my voice rather than the camera. But for today, I thought it would be really nice for you to actually see who your teacher is going to be for this year. So, the very first task that I'd like you to do, by now you should have watched the other video, the one that was made for the S3 course, that shows you how we're using Google Classroom and Microsoft Teams, or more Microsoft Teams, but you would have started off in Google Classroom because all your classes are there. So within Microsoft Teams, when you log in, it's got the class notebook up the top. If you click on that, you'll be able to get to a bit that's got your name, and you might have to press the wee purple arrow that points to the left, and then you'll be able to see content library, collaboration space, and your name. In the space that's your name, I just want you to make a wee page anywhere, not really fussy, I'll find it, and then I'll tidy it up after, and once you're in the class I can just push pages to you really easily. So, what I'd like you to do is just type everything that you've learned about engineering science or engineering in general in primary, S1, S2, and S3. This could be things that are in school, this could be something you've learned out of school, anything you think you know about engineering. I just want you to take a few minutes, write that down just now, and obviously pause this video. Hoping you've managed to just jot down all that you've got prior knowledge of for engineering in general. I'll have a look at that. So what we're going to focus on the rest of this PowerPoint is really thinking about what is the expectations and what the overarching ideas and themes are that we're going to be covering in this engineering science course. So to check that we've done that, what I'm hoping by the end of this is you will have a copy of the course plan and a chance to ask any questions, to be able to list the behaviour expectations, just general workflow that we'll be expecting within our class, and then to be able to list the general topics that we're doing, given that this is a new course and it's a new course to you. People are going to ask you what's it all about, what do you do. It's really important that you can say, well, this is the stuff that we're going to be covering. And the last thing, which is maybe the most important of all, is the SQ assessment structure for this course. So, the course plan. I've already mentioned the video for the Google Classroom, Microsoft Teams. Everyone in the whole school set up in Google Classroom. We're going to use mostly Microsoft Teams because it's quite nice for this course and for the structure and for being able to flip back and forward and find notes. I think you'll find it a lot easier and more intuitive for the learning that we're going to do in engineering science. The other thing I'm going to give you, which is in the content library, is a digital copy of the course plan. Once we are back in school, I'll give you a paper copy and then that'll be yours to keep. But for now, you'll get a digital copy. You look at it, by all means, naturally with everything that's going on, it's subject to change. So wee things might move about here or there, but I'll give you a picture from now all the way up until May 2021, what we're expecting to do throughout this course. Depending as well on how you all get on with your learning, if you are working a wee bit faster or a wee bit slower, I might need to move parts about. But generally you'll see things like the end of term tests, they're going to stay in place no matter what. So there's some things that are sort of set in stone. It will just be topics we might do a wee bit faster or a wee bit slower. What I'd like you to do just now is there's a link on the posts wall on the Microsoft team. Take a couple minutes, read through it, and then on the post that I've put up saying this is where you can find the course plan, you can hit reply underneath. And if you've got any questions about the course plan, this is your chance to just chuck them in and ask there. Everyone will be able to see everyone else's questions as well, so that you don't ask the same question 20 times. If one person asks it, you can see it. It's the chance really to just generally discuss what the expectations are. So at Newbattle High School, we expect high standards of student behaviour from all of our students. We're really clear on the purpose of the school is to learn and achieve, and we want all students to feel safe and happy while doing so. So within engineering and science, and this is standard for all your classes, so it shouldn't be a shock, the expectations that I have of you and what we're expecting just generally, so we get through this course. The routine for work each week is going to be, I'll post up, generally I'll make sure it's always up on the Monday, and it will be a week's worth of work. We've got 5 lessons in a week, so I will be trying to fill the 5 lessons worth with work. It will be split up a bit like this week where I've got different PowerPoints, so that you can work through them and do like one a day if you want, or if you want to do them all in a batch, it's totally your choice. If you're doing them in the evening or during the day, again, it's up to you to manage your time and work out when does it fit and what works for you. I would really appreciate if we could try and get it done before the end of the week, by the end of the day Thursday, because that would give me Friday to make sure I've marked all your work in preparation for the next week. And if I'm going to tweak or change anything, then it means I can fix it or tweak it or go back over something that there's been a wee misunderstanding on for the following week. So the earlier you do it, the better for me, but I appreciate you've got lots of different subjects. So if you're feeling snowed under, if you're struggling, or you're like, this is going to have to get pushed to the weekend, just send me a little message, let me know, and that's absolutely fine. We'll be able to work around it. But generally, I'd say try not to work all the way to the end of the weekend, because then it means it would be 2 weeks until I'd be able to really make a change in the learning that we're doing if there's been a misunderstanding. Other places that you can get support generally, anytime on the Teams wall, if you post a comment up there, it'll ping up on my computer and on my phone to be like someone's asking for help, so I'll come and help you as fast as I can. You are more than welcome to email me. Any point, I'll put my email address on the posts wall as well, so that that's just there at the top and you can always find it. So my Glow email address, that will ping on my computer and my phone. So again, it means I can respond to you, and that would be if you didn't want anyone else to see if you were asking for help. That would be an easy way for you to do it. If there's a bit that seems really difficult or really challenging or not making sense, just ask for help. A lot of the tasks that we're doing, some of them I usually plan to do them in groups or pairs in school, so it's a wee bit different how we're learning at the moment. So if it's not working, you just need to get in touch and tell me, and we can make it work. For interactions with staff, obviously we're using generally emails or text to reply, so you miss the tone of it. I'm sure if I didn't have the video and you just read this, you might be thinking this is like S1 stuff, you're saying we need to behave, but with the tone you can realise that it's not by any way belittling you. So what I'd say for the interactions, just be remembering that if I jump to reply to you and it seems quite a short, abrupt answer, by no means think that I'm being like that. It might just be I'm in a meeting or doing something for another class and quickly sending the help so you can continue with your work. The same as for you, just if you're typing anything, I'd say have a wee think to see how it will read. If you ask for help for example, if you said this makes no sense, where do I start for helping you and explaining things? Whereas if you say, Mr. Hey, this particular slide, I can't make head nor tail of what I'm actually meant to do, that would be much easier for me then to be able to give you support. It just saves that in between stage of me saying, what do you not understand? So just, you try and think. I'll always try and be careful with my messages to make sure it seems like I'm very supportive. But with it being text, sometimes you don't realise that when I'm like, oh, this is the answer, I'm not meaning it as in a put down. The last thing is you are 100% responsible for your jotter, your work. So when we're back in school, you'll get given an actual jotter for working, but at the minute we're doing it all digital. It's up to you. Make sure you put all your work there. Teams and the OneNote class notebook saves automatically as you go, so it can't lose anything, and even if it did, we can click on history and replace it, so we can always find your work if something's went wrong. But it's up to you to make sure it's kept neat, tidy, manageable, easy to find things. Any point you're stuck with how to use Teams or how to use Class Notebook, go back to the questions and ping me a thing to say, how do I do this, can I do this, and I'm more than happy to help you with it. Generally, I think we'll be absolutely fine. for the expectations, but it's always worth making sure they're clear. I'll be marking your stuff each week, so you'll get the feedback every single week. I'm going to try and mark it throughout the week. I'm not going to leave it all to a whole bunch. So people might get feedback at different points, just depending on when you complete the work. So the SQA course structure, now the big thing I'd like to say before I start talking about this is how the SQA assess this course under normal conditions. Last year was different. Because of lockdown happening just before the exams. This year, at the time of recording this, there has been no further information from the SQA to say how the assessment structure is going to work. So this could change. If it does change, I'll let you know as soon as possible, straight away. But at the moment, we are still going to be working towards and planning towards this, so this will be the expectations. All the work, the course plan that we've already looked at, you'll be able to see there's stuff that mirrors this, like practice assignments, so that we're ready for the real one. So everyone in the class is going to be following the National 5 level work. If anyone is either National 4 or needs to be possibly moved down to National 4, we'd use the same work and I'd mark it against the Nat 5 standards. But my hope right now is that everyone will work towards a good, strong National 5 and get a whole pass. Now, a lot of the class tests that we do, end-of-topic tests, have things which are from the unit tests. And that means throughout the year, we're backing up if we needed the unit evidence. We don't need to have it. If, for example, you do rubbish in one of the end-of-topic tests, that does not mean you will be moved down. It just means that's an area that we need to work on together to get you much, much better at it. But if something happens and you're unable to attend school, or you just start bombing the whole course, it means we've got all of those unit passes as a backup, just in case for you. Now, for the actual stuff that goes to the SQA, there's two parts of the assignment and the exam for the overall mark. So the first part that we'll talk about is the exam. It's 1 hour and 50 minutes in the exam hall. It's 110 marks, so that works out as 1 minute per mark of the exam, mix of written questions and calculations. You are allowed a calculator, and you are allowed and given a data booklet, which is the SQA official data booklet for the engineering science course. We will do a prelim, we'll be doing practice questions. From this week on, we'll be doing exam style questions to really drill and practice those so that you can get a really, really good mark in that exam. Averagely in Scotland, most people get about 60-70% in the exam, so we're wanting to get a really good mark. We want to practice so you can absolutely nail that part of the course. Now, the other 31% of your final grade is made up by the assignment. This is a 50-mark assignment. You're given 8 hours to complete, and it's issued by the SQA, and a new one is issued each year. So the previous ones, you can look, they are on the SQA website. We'll be doing some of them as practice assignments. The SQA issue round about middle of February, so that we can do it just after the February break into the start of March. The 8 hours are divided between your lessons, so you're not allowed to take anything away. It's all closed book, so that means you're not allowed textbooks, notes, anything to help you. It's under exam conditions, so you can't be chatting to your pal or even have headphones in and listening to music. It is 100% under exam conditions, but we do it over a number of days to add up to the full 8 hours. Generally, people find it quite good because it's very prescriptive, very detailed, asking you to do each task. So it's one of these that by doing a couple of practice assignments, you get quite confident in how you have to do it and what parts you need to complete so that you can get full marks. Now, for the course, the areas which you might have seen in the course plan, this is just breaking it down to try and simplify it a bit, is the 7 different engineering branches that are covered by the SQA in this course. If you look up engineering for university courses, you'll find lots and lots of different names. For the SQA course, they have to limit it down to only so many that you need to learn about. So we have these 7. You can argue that it's actually 6, and I'll explain that as I go through them. But for us, we'll just worry about the 7 because that's the best practice to go through. So the first one is civil engineering. Civil engineering is to do with projects that are going to do with general public or populations, roads, power plants, bridges. How do we connect people? Structural engineering would be for anything that's got to stand up of a structure. So it could be something as small as supports to hold a solar panel, or it could be something as big as the largest bridge in the world. That would count as a structure as well. The two that are very similar is electrical engineering and electronic engineering. So electrical engineering is the one that's to do with generating power or distributing power circuits with light switches. You might have covered some of that in science already, thinking of physics. Electronic engineering is the one that's to do with automation or programmable control or digital electronics as well as analog electronics. So that's where we look at microcontrollers, sequencing. So a nice example of something that an electronic engineer would worry about is traffic lights, where it's a system that constantly runs, but you've got inputs where you can push buttons and make something happen. Now, for the SQA, they let you away with mixing up those two names, but I think all of you are smart enough to remember the two separate names. The next one, mechanical engineering, anything that's got a moving part. Gears, pulleys, levers, any of that, mechanical engineer. And for that, we've got chemical engineer, and chemical engineers can be a wee bit confusing because sometimes people think you like chemistry here, and it's not a bad thing to think about because chemical engineers tend to think about materials and how different materials behave or act, what materials are suitable for what purposes. And then the last one, which is possibly, arguably, one of the most important ones when you think of it for us is environmental engineers, and they're the ones that have to take into consideration the impact or the influence or the change that's going to happen for the environment as a whole. So that's humans, animals and nature, and they're the ones that will investigate and change or say this can work or it's not going to work. Now, to try and recap and get this information stuck in your head, because I don't want you to just sit up watching video, and then forgetting everything, because you will. Every time I watch a YouTube video, if you ask me what I watched last, I struggle to tell you everything that was in it. I want you to use the space in your class notebook. You can just make your own page, and you just press the wee bit at the bottom that says page. And I want you to try, without looking back on this video, this PowerPoint, to list the behaviour expectations that we've said we're expecting from everybody. Then I would like you to try and list the 7 different branches, types of engineering that we are covering in this course. And again, I want you to try and do it without looking back. Now, I still want you to get all the answers. So if you can only manage 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, but you can't get all of the answers for both these PowerPoints, write the ones you can. Give yourself a wee second to think as well. Don't rush it. And then if you can't remember anymore, what I would like you to do is just open up this video again, go to the answers, and then copy down the answers, but change the colour of font that you're using. So you can highlight it and it'll come up with a wee box that you can change the colour so that we can see clearly these are the ones you could remember, these are the ones you couldn't. This will help because, for example, the 7 different types of engineer that we're worrying about, those are going to come up again and again and again. So it's really important that we can see, are you starting to remember more if that was ones that you couldn't remember. Now, once you've done that, just come back to the last bit of the PowerPoint. So the last thing that I'd like to think about here is, have we done what we set out to do? So the whole goal of this was to make sure you knew the expectations of the engineering and science course. Have we discussed a copy of the course plan? We've given you it. The discussion bit comes in with you asking any questions. So it's making sure, have you actually done that part? The next bit was, have you been able to list the behaviour expectations? Have we got them stuck in our head so we know what we're expecting for this course? The third part is to be able to list the general topics we're covering, which is the 7 different types of engineering. That was the task that I asked you to do as a recap. And then the last thing, which was really important, was the SQ assessment structure. Have we got the SQ assessment structure down? Do you know what the expectations are, generally, for the SQA, so you know how the assessment works in this course? If it's all brilliant, yes, that's amazing. If there's any there, you're like, I don't feel that I've got that, go back, try again, read through the stuff again, or if it's not making sense, send a message to the team and I'll be able to give you some help. I hope this has been a good start. I'm really excited to get started with this course. Once we get going, we're going to get into some really cool and fun things, so I can't wait. Next lesson, we're going to be looking specifically at 7 different types, full definitions, knowledge, skills that those would have, for then thinking how do they contribute to an actual engineering project. So I'll see you at the next lesson.